Tennessee's a talented team. Kentucky's a talented team. But when you get into situations like that, is it a matter of matching the intensity, which is obviously hard to do and especially hard to do on the road?
Yeah, I think honestly, the goal when you're going out, especially on the road, is you have to have your own level of intensity and hope that the other team matches it. And for us, like we say all the time before games, it's about us. So if we go out every game trying to match the other team's intensity, it's going to be tough for us. But I think that the goal, especially in a game like that, playing in Rupp Arena on the road, you want to come out and have your own intensity, and you want to understand it on the road. A lot of times, coaches use this theory: you got to be 10 points better on the road. And I think, looking at the game, that kind of showed that we did have to. I just think that it was one of those games we came out and, certain things affected the way we played on either side of the ball. And then just one of the things we got to create our own energy,
Yeah.
Coach, what is it about Texas A&M? They struggled in the non-conference, but since league play started, they've obviously been one of the best in the SEC. What has kind of flipped for them?
Honestly, I don't think anything flipped. I think they were always my dark horse team early in the year when everybody was making their rankings for teams in the league and where they would finish. I always said that Texas A&M was somebody that was a team that a lot of people weren't talking about. I think Coach Buzz Williams is a great coach, and he's one of those guys that have always had his players adapt to his toughness, and they've adapted the longer they've been around. So I think, Julius Marble, Dallas kid from Michigan State, obviously he was new. He was adjusting to Coach Buzz, and they had, Dexter Dennis, who transferred over to Wichita State, were kind of adjusting to him. And the moment that those guys got comfortable and acclimated to their new program, I think that they've taken off since then.
What do y'all have to do to have that intensity you talked about tomorrow night?
I think just kind of come out and again, just worry about us. Don't let, missed shots early in the game affect us on the other end of the floor, and, don't let a couple breakdowns defensively affect us, because the reality is, man, we're the number one defense in the country, but we break down just as much as anybody else. Like, we break down. It happens. And when it happens, we have to handle it and come back the next possession and buckle down even more and be, have our minds wrapped around getting more stops.
Coaches and staff are.
Get Julian and Josiah back at some point. How important is it to get those guys back as soon as possible?
It's important. I think one thing that, everybody looks at our team, and we do keep the next man up mentality, but I think it's an obvious thing that everybody sees that we do miss those guys. We miss the length. We miss the ability to get to the rim from Julian. We miss the size because obviously those are two guys that play guard positions for us, and they make us bigger on the wings. And we do miss it, but it's important for us to get them back. It's important for us to have them healthy because they're big parts of our team, especially down the stretch.
How exciting is what Jemiah's kind of done in their absence?
It's been really exciting. It's been great for him as a player. It's been great for us as a program. Obviously, he's someone that has been a developmental guy ever since he came here. And last year, you knew that he brought defense. But, him being a sophomore this year, I don't think last year he would have scored 16 points at Rupp Arena. I don't care what the situation was, the injuries, whatever the case may be. If he stepped in that spot, that probably wouldn't have happened a year ago. So I think that kind of, we can tip our hat for our development, but we also, have to give him his flowers for being as dedicated and determined as he's been since he's been here.
Coach, concerns about the free throw shooting situation?
Not concerned. I think it's the mentality of our program is in, hey, all right, we got to get back to the drawing board, which is get in here, get in the gym, work on them. You know what I mean? And I think anytime anybody has a showing like that, I think Roach just got done working on his free throws, which obviously we know that's been an issue. Jemiah, the same thing today. He's going to make sure he gets his free throw work in, and as well as tomorrow before the game.
Speaking of development projects, Jemiah is one of those guys who has been working on his jump shot a lot. How have you seen that come along after that performance at Rupp?
Yeah, no, it's night and day. It's night and day. He over the summer, he had one of the best summers that I had seen. I think this is the second or third time I've said it. He had the biggest turnaround on development that I think I've ever seen as a young coach. He worked his butt off, man, every day, every single day, and he constantly every day showed improvement at getting better at shooting basketball, and it was just good to see him have a game where he was able to kind of showcase that.
Coach, where do you think your guys are at mentally, having lost 3 or 4? I mean, do you see any difference? Is there still pep in the step? And
Yeah, I think it definitely is something that weighs on them a little bit. No different than any guys at this point in the season. The thing is with our guys, man, it's a blessing and a curse. They're not the best losers. I'm an awful loser. I will be the first to admit that. They're not great losers. They don't handle it always the best way. They're really mad. They're really frustrated when we lose because they know how hard we work. They know the time that they put in, and as much of a family as we are, we all expect to win. This is what it is, and when we don't, it does wear on us. But it's one of those things where we're not gonna just lay down and let it just kind of put a damp on our season. We're gonna get up, get in the film room, talk about it, figure out what we need to do for the next game. We're gonna go out and play our butts off.
What does Kai need to do to balance playing with that defensive intensity that he does, but staying out of foul trouble?
With Z, and it's being smart. It's watching film. It's being critical of himself. I had a conversation with him last week where I told him, like, man, I think you have to mature from the standpoint of when you foul, don't think it's not you. Because at the end of the day, we have a different referee crew every game. And if they keep calling the same fouls, you probably foul it. Accept it. And understand, go in the film room, sit back, and have the mentality of, I have to get better at this because we need him on the floor. And his teammates told him in the locker room after the game, like, sometimes, man, you put us in a hole when you make those tough, plays. And we get that you're just playing hard, but we need you on the floor.
Rod, Santi's been able to get to the rim off of a drive all season long, but kind of always kicked it out. But in the second half against Kentucky, he was more content on trying to score. Was that a conversation that you all had with him at some point to take the layup instead of maybe trying to create for others?
Yeah, I think with Santi, he's one of the most difficult guys in this league to guard, and that's not from us, that's from the officials. They say he's difficult to officiate because he creates angles, he understands when to run guys off of screens, he's great with his shot fake, he draws fouls. Like, when he puts pressure on the rim, good things usually happen when he's aggressive and not looking to kick the entire time. Now Santi, obviously he's our second leading assist guy, so he does a good job distributing the basketball, but it's times like, in the game the other night when he got aggressive, he opened up lanes to the rim. You see some of the, sometimes when the drives guys backed off because they thought he was going to pass it. And he just went ahead and took the layup. So I think for Santi, it's one of those things where he just has to continue to have a better understanding of take what they're giving you. If they're giving you room, go ahead and take it.
How do you manage taking a roster full of selfless guys and getting them to be more aggressive?
You know what? We have great kids. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do is to make them selfish because they're not that. They're not like that. That's the reason why we move the ball well. We have high assist counts after games. They're naturally guys that want to play as a team. So there are times and possessions where we need them to be ultra aggressive. And, it's been times where we haven't done it as much this year. But I think, again, in the film room, it's just helping them understand when to take shots and when to make the next play.
how much does not having Julian and Josiah limit you guys defensively as far as being flexible? I mean, do you even have a lineup where you can switch 1 through 5 if both those guys are on the bench?
Yeah, no, we still do. We still do as far as the versatility they bring defensively. We still can switch. You can put Jamal Meshack at the 4 and switch 1 through 5 still. But at the same time, Jamal Meshack 6'4", Julian Phillips is 6'8". Jamal Meshack is 6'4", and Josiah James is 6'7", 215 pounds. So it's different. One thing that I think that Kentucky's having success with is they have so much length when they put Casey Wallace at the point versus Samir Wheeler, and that's changed them. And for us, we've always had that this entire year. But when you lose those big wings, it does change a little bit. But I won't say that makes us weaker or anything like that. But obviously, it's a different look that we're not able to give when those two guys aren't playing.
After the game, Rick Barnes was asked, how do you get consistency out of your guys? He said he didn't know. Mm-hmm. Do you know the answer to that question?
I mean, I'm 30 years old, and I don't know if I'm super consistent every single day. I definitely try to, just as much as our guys. I mean, they try. Like you guys see, they work really hard every day here in practice. They try to come in every day with a workman-like mentality. But the reality is that you want to get them consistently doing the things that they do every day. I think it's one of those things where you You don't want guys trying to do things that they don't normally do every single day. Like if Jamal Meshack defends every day, we want him to come in and defend. If Tobe Awaka rebounds every day, we want him to come in and rebound. I think that's as simple as it is. There's some guys that they do things every single day for us, and then we got to the game and maybe they didn't do it as best as they could, to their highest capability. And I think that that's the point where we get to this point in the season. We have to do that. In order to be good, in order to win, the guys that are great at something, they have to do that night in and night out. And that's the standard, and it has to be reached.
Talked about how these guys handle losses. Do you think that has gone into some of the, like the ups and downs kind of in terms of big wins, tough losses, the extremes this team has had, I guess?
Honestly, yeah, I do. Like I said, we got guys that don't like losing to Uno. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, it's you can look at it one of two ways. You could look at it like, oh, well, you can't. Sometimes you have to accept it and move on. There's a lot of guys that can't accept losing. They hate it. And sometimes it wears on them more than they should. Like we have guys on this team that they've, Olivier Kamwa, Josiah, the guys had a losing record one time in their career here. One time. These guys around the country have been doing it for 4 years. So they accept it a little bit easier. Ours, they don't always do the greatest job. And I think the frustrating thing with this year is that they know we could do better, but they're also, again, they're adjusting. Coach says it all the time. We are the game. We go into a lot of people's gyms and we're who they want. They circle the schedule, like we're going to play Texas A&M. They're second in this league, but they're on the bubble. They're having a blackout. They want us. We could help them get in the tournament. You know what I mean? So that's been an adjustment for guys, and I think it's understanding that we can't have lulls and not do what we do, especially early in games, because when we come into the game, it's not that, oh, let's see what punch Tennessee's going to throw. They're throwing the first one if we don't, So that's the mentality we have to have going into every one of these games. Is we have to come out with our best shot and understand that they're going to get us there.
Thank you, Rod.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Coach.